Hi there, Pip Haydock from the Together Partnership. I'm going to take you through the directing behaviours that will form part of your practice in the next session together. So here we go. In terms of our agenda, we're going to go through the four directing behaviours and go through the words, the voice, and the body language for each, and then the next steps. So what you need to do between now and the session. Just a reminder of where the directing behaviours fit on the authentic conversation model. We're over here, this line here towards directing. So this is about your focus and your energy and what you want to make happen. Of course, we've got the encouraging line, which is what's going on for the other person. What are their wants, their needs, and what do they want to make happen? Okay, so in terms of the specific behaviors that we've got the directing behaviors here, which are about push energy from me to you. We've got the encouraging behaviors, which are pull energy, which are about what's going on for you, and it's your energy, me drawing on your energy and finding out what's on your agenda. We've got a journing, which is a tactical move to manage particularly challenging conversations. And then we've got a little reminder here of where avoiding and discouraging pop up, what might be going on there and how you might spot it. So what we're going to be focusing on is this section of the behaviours and specifically proposing, calling out, probing, and requesting behaviours. So let's look at proposing. So what is proposing? Well, it's a really good influencing technique if you've got some ideas, you want to put them forward and you want to move a conversation along. And you might still be open to some debate as well in terms of your influence. You haven't sort of landed on exactly what it is you want to do, but you're open to some discussion around it. So proposing would be the one you would use. I've got some hints and tips around the words for you. So first of all, flagging that you've got an idea or a suggestion is a really good thing to do because tends to what happen in meetings is that people there'll be a hubbub of conversation, and if you can just flag up, I've got an idea or a suggestion, people's ears will be ready to hear what your suggestion is. If you just launch in with your suggestion, people might not hear it. And then make your suggestion. You can use words like I suggest or I recommend or I have an idea. Then give your reasons. And I'm saying give reasons. We've got maybe one or two reasons. If you have more than two reasons or even three reasons, usually the last one is the weakest one. And if people are going to challenge you, you'll probably challenge you on that last reason. Also, it's good just to have some of the other ideas that you've got just held back a little bit so that when people do challenge you, if they do, you've got other reasons that you can add to your influencing. The other thing to think about as well is when you're giving reasons, give reasons that are going to be appealing to the other people. So, for example, if you're talking to somebody who's in finance, talk about the figures and how much it might costings and how much it might save. If you're talking to somebody in HR, you might talk about how it might motivate people, that kind of thing. So, think about your reasons and select them according to the audience that's in front of you. Then shut up. So there is a tendency sometimes for us to keep going on and explaining more and more. And what actually happens is you can dilute your argument. So say something like, "So what do you think?" or "How does that land with you?" In terms of your voice and with your body language, so voice should be evenly paced with some conviction because this is push. It doesn't need to be emotional. I remember we're influencing here with logic and reasoning. And then your body language, I'd say upright, confident, maybe downward gestures, or you might even count off your reasons on your fingers. So to give people some visual clues as to how many reasons have you got, it makes it more memorable. And good eye contact as ever. So here's an example. I have a suggestion to help our efficiency. I suggest we develop a monthly project plan for the board report input. Because firstly, it will help all of the stakeholders know what's expected of them and when it's needed. And then secondly, we can build in time to collate and check and present the data. What do you think? Okay. So, some key things to think about here as well. If you can make pauses between making a suggestion and then giving your reasons, that will just help people compute in their minds what it is you've said. So that's proposing. Next one we're going to look at is calling out. Now, this is a really good behavior when you've noticed something that's gone well and you want to encourage more of it, or when something hasn't gone so well and you want to discourage it or change it for the future. So we've got a process here called the SID process, and what that stands for is this. The S stands for being specific. Be specific about the precise behavior that you've noticed so people know what it is that they've done that's been helpful. Talk about the impact. So why does it matter? What's been the impact, either practical, has it helped something, or emotional? You're pleased. So there might be two ways of thinking that, the practical or the emotional side of the impact. And then the desired. What do you want them to keep doing? What do you want them to keep doing in the behavior or do something different in future? So the voice would be calm, respectful, and neutral. Aim for a tone of clarity and not a critical one. And in terms of body language, upright, confident, hold the eye contact, and facial expressions to match the content. So if it's good news, you can afford to smile. And if it's not so good news, then your face might look a little bit more serious. Sometimes what happens is we'll find that people who have a please others nature might give feedback which might be critical, but they smile and dilute it. So same as sometimes people have this more of a perfectionist style to them, might give positive feedback but might look quite serious on their face. So do think about your facial expression with this one, it can really help. So we've got a couple of examples here. Here's a positive one, something to positively encourage someone. So instead of saying something like, Alex, I just wanted to say that was a great piece of work you did on the Alpha project, thanks so much. Be a little bit more specific. If you were to receive that, you would think, that's nice. That's a nice piece of feedback that I've received. But actually, if you were to start delving into it, well, what was it that I actually did? So this might be a better way of doing it. So describe the behavior, the impact, and the desire. What do you want them to keep doing? So Alex, I just wanted to say that was a great piece of work you did on the Alpha project. I particularly like the way you challenged John's thinking on the project plan, which resulted in both of you creating a much more productive approach. I really appreciate that kind of thoughtful, creative challenge. So please keep doing that with the team and I as we progress on the project. Okay, so the intention here is to encourage Alex to continue challenging the future in a thoughtful and creative way. You can also use calling out to change a situation, so something that hasn't gone so well or something that you want them to do differently in the future. So here's an example of how not to do it. Joe, are you aware how aggressive you were in the meeting? You can imagine how Joe might respond to that. So what we're going to do is split out the behaviour, the impact, and the desired future change. So here we go. Joe, I'd like to talk to you about your impact in that meeting. Are you open to hearing it just now? So here we are. This is a little bit of, because this is going to be some feedback that they might not be ready to hear. You know, we still want to be respectful for people and their space and how they are emotionally. So doing a little check-in first is good. Then if you get a positive response, if they say, yeah, okay, I wasn't aware of anything, just talk to me about what happened, then be specific around the behavior. So when you slammed your fist on the table and raised the volume of your voice, you came across as aggressive. So that was the behavior. And then talk about what was the impact. So the impact here, it was that I was quite shocked and wondered what was going on for you to cause this, and if you were aware of what you were doing. And then finally, what do you want them to do differently? So I would really like you to pause and take a breath when you find yourself in similar situations in the future. Okay, so then you would give some space and time to hear back from Joe. He may not have been aware that that was the case. He may dispute the fact that that's what they did, but now you can have a conversation. but you've got it out there. You've been specific about the behavior. You've talked about the impact and why it mattered, and then talked about, okay, well, I know that I did wrong, but what do I do for future? So you've talked about what you would like them to do for future. Okay, so I think I've covered that there. So, next behavior, probing. So, the intention of probing is about delving deeper. This is on my agenda. So, I want to delve deeper and find out more about what's happened, what's been the situation. So, sometimes it can really encourage deeper thinking analysis. I can also explore the rationale behind what you did or what the action that was taken by the team. It's brilliant for problem solving and also developing ideas about how you could do things differently or how you can progress things for the future. Good one for learning as well. So here we've got some words. I'll just flick down these for you. So you can see that the words there are questions which are going a lot deeper into what the situation is and how it came about. But you could also use a question there like, what would you do differently if faced with a similar situation? So you can use the questions to look forward into the future as well. I'll let you scan down those. These questions are in, if you have been given a little booklet, they'll be in the booklet that you've received as well. So the other thing to remember is when you're asking questions like this, don't just trot them off one at a time like that, because the person will probably feel quite interrogated and put under pressure. Really, you need to remember to intersperse your questions with some listening. So reflecting back what they've said so that they really do feel like you're engaging with them rather than just putting them under a spotlight. So have a neutral tone in your voice. A tone of curiosity is good. And your body language should be upright, confident, and good eye contact as you're speaking to them, just so that they know that you are really engaged with them. So that's a probing. Finally, we've got requesting. So requesting is a really good behavior. Remember, we're on directing. This is a good one for when you want to make clear statements about what your wants, needs, and expectations are. And of course, people have got the right to say no, but one of the things about requesting is it should be within the legitimate rights of you to ask them to do this. So here we go. We've got the words here. We've got a bit of a continuum going on. So all the way from could you, and I'd appreciate it if you would, through to I'd like you to, I want you to, I need you to, I expect you to, and I insist that you. Now, of course, remember that in terms of that there's a spectrum there of different ways that you can make requests. If you're always making requests at this end, the weaker end, and people don't listen to you and don't respond to those requests positively, it could be that you need to increase the strength of your language. If you're using this language a lot and you get what you want, great, good for you. That sounds like it's working. Um, and if you're always using words up at this end, I expect you to, and I insist that you, just to be aware that you might be coming across as a little bit, it could be a little bit overbearing, a bit too strong. So try and get more variation in there, particularly if people are doing what you want, but they're only doing it, feels like reluctantly. You don't need to give reasons, and what you can do is you might have reasons, but you might draw upon them later down the line. Sometimes you just need to be clear with people what it is you want, and they really appreciate that. So the voice, firm, determined, maybe a slower pace. You might even emphasize certain words if you need to increase the strength. And again, it depends upon the situation as to how much strength you need to put in there. Body language, upright, confident, downward gestures. So what I mean by downward gestures, you might use this kind of gesture. Good eye contact is important with all of the behaviours, but again, it's what's appropriate for you. And here are some examples using all the different words. Mark, could you chair our next meeting on Wednesday? Phil, I'd like you to take the lead on phase 2 of the project. John, I want you to contact our customer and arrange for us to meet with them in the next 2 weeks. Rob, I expect you to wear a mask when you're inside of the office. Okay, so can see there are some things that are more negotiable and some things that might be less negotiable. And it's just worthwhile you being aware of both your words that you use, but also the firmness of your voice. Okay, so that's all of the directing behaviours. I've got a little bit of a recap here about what they are, when to use them, and what the word stems are. And here, a reminder of generally the voice that you might use and also the body language that you would use. Okay, so when we're going to be together next, what you need to do as your between now and your practice session is don't change. Just observe and learn what you do and what others are doing. What do you say? What don't you say? What do others say and what don't they say? So do you use directing at all? And which one of the four behaviours do you tend to lean towards? Be really curious about what's going on around you and what's happening in meetings. If you've been issued with a workbook, you could read the section for the directing behaviours in the workbook and look forward to seeing you on the practice session. Thanks so much.